Simon Peter was a Galilean fisherman. Whatever schooling he had was probably limited to learning to read the Bible at his local synagogue. The evidence we have in the Gospels indicates that he was an impulsive man. He may not have been as quick of wit as he was of word and action. The Gospels certainly give the impression that he could be pretty dense at times. Perhaps that is one of the reasons Jesus nicknamed him Cephas, or Peter, rock. He was, however, a man whom Jesus could trust to lead the community, a steady rock in the turbulent times ahead for the new church. Apparently, the other disciples were willing to look upon him as a leader. After Pentecost, Peter preached in Jerusalem and to the Jewish people. He had some contact with non-Jewish believers in Jesus, but seems to have been ambivalent about how to treat them. Eventually, he led the Jerusalem community to accept the outsiders. Tradition says that he died a martyr on a cross in Rome. Was he living and working with the large Jewish community there, or had he moved beyond them? Paul was more cosmopolitan from the start, a sophisticate. He came from the Jewish community outside Israel, from the city of Tarsus in present-day Turkey, and would have spent his whole life in contact with non-believers as well as fellow Jews. He was a Roman citizen, educated in Greek as well as Hebrew. Unlike Peter, who got a nickname from Jesus, Saul, Paul, came by his two names naturally. Like other Jews in the empire who lived in a non-Jewish milieu, he had a Jewish name and another name for use in Greek or Latin. Since he spoke Greek, the day-to-day language of the Roman Empire, he could travel around with confidence. He was a trained theologian with connections to the religious establishment in Jerusalem. Yet he was able to share his faith with Gentiles. And another difference from Peter, Paul seems to have been hard to get along with. Rather than considering him a leader, most of his companions seem to have left his company after disagreements. Tradition has him, like Peter, dying in Rome. Since he was a citizen, he would probably have been beheaded rather than crucified. These two different men, from different backgrounds, living and working in different societies, spent their lives for one thing: the proclamation of the risen Lord Jesus. It was not an easy vocation. At times, it meant going against the religious and political societies in which they lived. At all times, it meant dedicating themselves wholeheartedly to sharing with their neighbors, whether Jew or Gentile, the good news of Jesus Christ. We Christians are a varied group. We come from many different nations. We have many different ideas about politics, economics, history, and even theology. We have many different hopes and aspirations, as well as fears and doubts. What we have in common with each other, as well as with Peter and Paul, and with all the saints, is our faith that Jesus is risen from the dead and offers us a new life that transcends the limits of this world. We share with Peter and Paul the vocation to proclaim the good news to all the world. Like Peter and Paul, we should not be held back by either the communities in which we live, the cultures in which we were raised, or the larger political and social systems of the world. We do not know, we never know, what the future will bring. What we do know is that God's love is real, and that as Christians we are sent into the world to proclaim that good news. Systems, societies, cultures, nations, and such are important. But ultimately, our chief vocation is independent of them. Peter and Paul lived and used their different backgrounds and talents to preach their faith in the real world in which they lived. So can we. So must we. So will we.